Auburn football just received its first commitment for the 2023 class. Now, this may seem a little bit early to even be talking about this class, but we're going to do that here and talk about the importance of who this is and what it means for the future of Auburn football's recruiting. I'll share my opinions and I'd love to hear yours at the end as well. Welcome to the E2C Network, where the Auburn family speaks. Our content here and on our podcast network may be Auburn sports heavy, but if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you never miss any content that we put out for you. Thank you to members of our booster club like Doug Easom, who help produce videos like this. Let me just say that it's obvious that 2022 has just gotten started, so why are we actually talking about 2023? Well, it has significant importance of it because of the class of 23 officially being kicked off with its first commitment. Auburn football received that commitment from Braden Joyner from their own backyard at Auburn High School. There are a lot of implications at what this means for the football program in terms of perception, building up an offense, and just overall what it means for the team in general that I want to talk about with you. But first, I thought it'd be important to address these couple things about who he is, where he's coming from, some stats and things like that, just perspectives about the player himself. Braden Joyner from Auburn High, and I believe previously from Oxford High School as well, so he has been all over Alabama with a variety of experience, but now in our own backyard. He's listed at a couple of different stat lines depending on which service you subscribe to or check out or which media member that you follow. I kind of averaged him out to roughly 6 foot to 320 pounds, and he's listed as an interior offensive lineman for the 2023 class. But even some go further to note that he is probably going to be a center, but there's obviously an option there as well to be a guard as an interior lineman prospect. Something quickly to note here is that Auburn High, he's actually playing on the defensive line, but most people project him to the offensive line, especially the interior offensive line, when he gets to the college level. Probably has to do with his measurables and his talent in that particular area that's going to be more valuable to college programs. Again, as I stress here on this channel, that stars and rankings are not important, but just to give you a perspective of where we might be heading with some of these things, most people are ranking him as a 4-star, and again, depending on where you look at in terms of for this information, you'll find in the top 250 prospects to the top 150. What I do notice is that there is a consensus that a lot of people want this guy. Auburn beat out Penn State and Georgia, which is the two biggest programs probably that were fighting for him alongside Auburn. So this should tell you that they see something in Braden Joyner, and this is a really good start to the 2023 class. Now I want to share with you the 3 reasons that I came up with very quickly of what this means for the future of Auburn's 2023 class. Number 1 for me, the offensive line is getting addressed. And you might be going, of course, Kyle, because he's an offensive lineman, but you also might be saying that's not going to help us now in 2022. Well, yes, you'd be right. You know, we've heard of people early enrolling, but that doesn't happen until December. And obviously that's not going to really help us for the 2022 season. I'm looking past that and beyond that. I've stressed patience with the Auburn fan base for quite some time now, and it's going to be required in 2022 as well. Doesn't mean that things aren't going to get better, especially on the offensive line front, but it will require patience for things to truly begin to get fixed. And Braden Joyner is the beginning of that for me, laying the foundation not just for this class, but for Auburn in the future to continue to build and not regress in the offensive lineman category. So take hold of that, Auburn fans. Those of you that have been trying to celebrate what we have brought in these classes, whether it's the 2021 class or the 2022 class, but still worried about the offensive lineman, obviously the coaches are focused on this, and obviously the coaches have really fought hard to secure this recruitment for the start of the 2023 class. They know it's a problem, just like we do, and they have clearly made that the focus for this class. Number 2, why it's big, is they're taking care of things at home. And this one's pretty obvious as well. We already addressed that he's coming from Auburn High School. You don't want your rivals, much less any other school, to come into your own backyard and take players that are pretty easy for you to have access to, but also to get them there to look at your program to see how they might fit in. Now, just because they're in your backyard doesn't mean that you have to take them or even want to take them. But let's be honest, Auburn High has been pretty good the last couple of years in producing some pretty good talent. So you really want to make sure, as the program that's literally a mile away from it, that you make sure you pick the people out of that you really want to keep home and convince them to stay here on the Plains. Again, this was a Penn State and Georgia battle, so something that you really want to keep in mind, especially that Georgia matchup there. We're always battling them for recruits between each other. We go steal some out of Georgia, they go steal some out of Alabama. So the fact that we could fight them off, but also a Big Ten opponent as well, is a huge victory for Auburn. And number 3 for me is I'm calling this the pivot point of this class, and I've already kind of addressed this, but let me go a little bit further with that. Typically what you see happen is that first commitment in a class is usually something kind of big and flashy. Maybe it's a wide receiver, maybe it's a cornerback. I've often see it be a quarterback, the person that's going to be considered the de facto leader of the offense, but even more so the team in the coming years. We've seen this happen quite often for Auburn, and this time I think we're going to see an offensive lineman become of that. All because of the reasons we've already listed. Number 1, offensive line needs are apparent and obvious. And number 2, this guy's from Auburn. He knows what this place is all about. And now he hasn't spent a ton of time at Auburn High compared to where he's been in the past, but he's still an Auburn guy and obviously values being a part of this community and now the Auburn family. What this means for the team in the recruitment class is that he is going to take the lead. From several quotes, you'll find that he said that he's shutting his recruitment down. Now, there's well over a year until that time, unless he early enrolls, but you can expect that he's probably going to be a pretty solid guy, especially if Auburn continues to have an upward trajectory in the 2022 season. I expect him not only to be a leader in recruiting offensive linemen, which he has already said that he is doing, but be the leader of bringing everyone into this program. It's going to be an interesting turn to see a guy like him almost work with the coaches, so to speak. And you've seen this a lot of times. Somebody will commit early and they almost kind of unofficially called by the coaches their extra recruiter because they're helping get guys to Auburn. I think Braden Joyner is going to be that for the Tigers, and I'm very excited to have him and see what he's able to do for the 2023 class. Now I want to know from you, what do you think about the first overall commitment for Auburn in this class? Let me know your thoughts about him and everything related to that in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this type of content, please support it by smashing that like button. And if you want more content from us, be sure to hit the subscribe along with the notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live stream. If you want other ways to help support us, you can check out some of the links in the description, such as becoming a channel member on YouTube or a Booster Club member over at patreon.com/E2C Network. Both of those start at $1 a month. Thank you for tuning into the E2C Network, where the Auburn family speaks. War Eagle.